What's up everyone, Alex here. 2021 was an incredible year for games. If you don't believe me, take a look at the second annual Backlog Battle Awards or the recently released 2020-2021 Supercut of Games. But despite my best efforts, some games do slip through the cracks. And while I managed to talk about a ton of amazing games last year, I admit that it only represents a fraction of what I played. And so, in today's video, I want to talk about 10 games that I played in 2021 that I didn't get to talk about until now. These games encompass a wide range of genres, but if you're a JRPG fan, you might find a ton of games that you might want to eventually check out. Number 1. Shadowverse – Champions Battle. Collectible card gaming is a genre that I never got into. I've tried Magic the Gathering, I've tried Hearthstone, and I even tried Shadowverse. So imagine my surprise at how much fun I was having while playing Shadowverse Champions Battle. Unlike the mobile game, Shadowverse Champions Battle plays like a traditional Japanese RPG to the T. You're a brand new student transferring to a new school where everyone in town is addicted to Shadowverse. But not the dark, dreary Shadowverse on mobile, no. This is a hyper-futuristic version of the game, utilizing the same decks. What endeared me to the game was how it approached teaching players the fundamental building blocks of the genre, making learning these a ton of fun. Best of all, having a storyline that is based off of the anime of the same name injects a healthy dose of wholesomeness that adds to the game's approachability. So if you're looking for a unique JRPG to play and perhaps learn how to play a new genre of games as well, I highly recommend checking out Shadowverse Champions Battle, available on the Nintendo Switch. Number 2. Fuga – Melodies of Steel. Admittedly, I have had this game since September when I reached out to CyberConnect, who graciously provided me with the game code. And due to the busyness of the fall, I had to defer it until later. When I finally picked the game back up over Christmas break, regret quickly set in, as I missed out on covering what is, quite possibly, one of the most underappreciated games of 2021. Fuga Melodies of Steel is a game about war. We all have mixed feelings about that topic, but it's through the lens of young children that we get to experience said event. Fuga Melodies of Steel has some great turn-based combat, where your party composition and build is key in defeating your opponents in battle. Your party will have to man and maintain a tank filled with other children in the hopes of uncovering the truth about why your parents were taken by the enemy. In order to accomplish this, you'll have to travel vast distances, all the while protecting yourself and surviving by creating an environment within the tank that can sustain you and your fellow children's health. I gotta admit that the base building aspect of this game is something that I absolutely love, and it directly affects the kinds of things you can do in battle. If you're through playing JRPGs where you're going to a million different schools and battling fantastical monsters and demons of yore, Fuga Melodies of Steel is the perfect break in between said games. And again, this is easily one of the best and most underappreciated titles of 2021. It's available practically on every modern platform, so you've no excuse not to play this gem. Number 3. Psychonauts 2. One of the genres I grew up with was platformers, and in this day and age, really good platformers are few and far in between. So when I got an Xbox Series S and a whole year of Game Pass, I thought it would be cool to try out Psychonauts 2 and see how it turned out. My experience can be summed up with one word: wow. You've probably heard how much Psychonauts 2 improved upon the original in many ways, but I can't help but echo the same sentiments. Improved controls, lavish new worlds, and an even wackier story to boot, Psychonauts 2 was so worth the long wait. It's a game that not only knew where it was coming from, but seemed to have a clear vision on how to keep the feel of the previous game while also improving every single aspect that made it great. Needless to say, I played Psychonauts 2 the whole way through, and I'm itching to find an excuse to play through the game all over again. Only this time, with the goal of collecting every single trinket in the game. That's how incredible Psychonauts 2 was to me. The game is available on the PS4, Xbox One, Series X and S, and PC. And of course, it's on Game Pass. Number 4. Unsighted. Speaking of underappreciated gems, I encountered this game while browsing through my tweets last year. The developer mentioned that their game, Unsighted, was one of the best reviewed games of the year, and yet the game barely sold. This tweet made me want to check the game out, and what I found was an incredible top-view hack and slasher that has the DNA of the best Metroidvanias out there. I played many games that look like this over the past decade, but none have felt better than Unsighted's combat. It nailed every single thing I'd ever wanted from a game that blended this type of action with Metroidvanias, large explorable environments, enemy patterns that'll challenge you, and an art direction that is simply sublime. And I should mention that it does feature co-op, so you can enjoy the game with a friend or a loved one. If you played a ton of other action RPGs in 2021 and are still craving for the kind of gameplay that's really fun and satisfying, Unsighted is right up there with the very best. It's out on Nintendo Switch, PS4, Xbox One, and PC. And as of January 2022, it's on Game Pass. Number 4. NieR Reincarnation. Gotchas. We all know of them as something insidious and outright predatory. That said, I'm the kind of person that wants to give different genres a shot, despite what I might find in them, as it broadens my understanding of why people play certain games. And so, I embarked on this journey late last year to try and play a gacha game. I'm happy to say that I've not only done that with NieR Reincarnation, but I'm also proud to add that I am currently caught up with the game's storyline. In case you didn't know, NieR Reincarnation is a mobile game that takes the action-packed NieR gameplay and turns it into a fast-paced ATB-inspired turn-based RPG. What makes NieR Reincarnation special is how much of the action in the console NieR games translate into a turn-based RPG. Every sword slice and gunshot feel great, even on a mobile platform, and the types of abilities you can learn and enhance really make you feel like your characters are growing and improving. With regards to its storytelling, NieR Reincarnation has an overarching storyline peppered with smaller stories that you get to experience in minimalist 2D sections. These stories are then absorbed by your character in order for them to reclaim something that they've lost. And since this is a Yoko Taro game, you can probably tell that there'll be a healthy dose of tragedy and sadness in there somewhere. With regards to the gacha, it's still there, but I was able to reach the end without having to spend a single penny on anything. It does take a lot of time and a lot of learning, but I can definitely say that it was all worth it. NieR Reincarnation is available on iOS and Android and is being updated with new content and storylines every other month. Number 6. Lake. Gamious provided me with a game key for the game in September, right around when I got my Xbox Series S. So thank you very much for that. At first glance, you might think that Lake is just about working as a postal worker, but hidden beneath is a narrative experience that'll make you question what you want to do with your life. Lake casts you in the role of a tech company employee in the 1980s. You're taking a vacation to your hometown in Oregon, where you've decided to work temporarily as a postal worker. Throughout your time, you'll be meeting old friends, reminded of what awaits you back in the city as you discover what you want to do with your life, and perhaps even kindle a romantic relationship. And of course, you get to be a postal worker as well. If you're a fan of chill indie simulators that don't just have choices for you to pick from to progress a story, Lake is the perfect game for you. It's available on Xbox One, Series X and S, and PC. And as of January 2022, it's also on Game Pass as well. Number 7. Life is Strange: True Colors. Speaking of narrative games, I was a huge fan of Life is Strange when it was first released. Since then, I'd somehow missed playing its follow-up, Before the Storm, the standalone demo for its sequel, and the sequel itself. So imagine my surprise when I finally started Life is Strange: True Colors and experienced the many changes the series has gone through over the years. Even in the very early parts of the game, Life is Strange: True Colors doubles down on everything that made the original and its subsequent games a powerful emotional experience, mixing in real-world problems with psychic abilities that allow us to tap into the minds and hearts of the game's many characters. Initially, I was a bit skeptical of the idea of having Alex Chen, the main character, have the power of empathy. But as I continued to play through the story and understand what these powers actually meant, This experience gave me a newfound appreciation for the series and what it does best. There's a whole chapter in the game that manages to not only keep within the confines of its storytelling, but also manages to honor its publisher in the best ways. If you play the game, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. So if you're looking for some feels in your games, Life is Strange True Colors will certainly deliver. It's out on Nintendo Switch, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Series X and S, and PC. Number 8. Ruin King, a League of Legends story. Riot Games has been making a concerted effort in allowing anyone to enjoy League of Legends outside of its core game, and one of those ways is through Ruin King, a League of Legends story. I'll just cut right to the chase. Ruin King is a turn-based JRPG. By that definition, I mean that battles play out very much like games in said genre. You encounter enemies on the field, then you're taken to a battlefield where you'll be engaging in turn-based combat. What I absolutely love about this game is that it is the most refreshing take on turn-based combat in the genre to date, blending elements of what makes Western RPGs so much fun with the classical elements of JRPG turn-based combat. Best of all, it makes turn orders important again, allowing you to create some synergistic builds and strategies that make every time you battle a different experience almost every single time. The developers over at the Airship Syndicate is led by Joe Madureira, who is best known for his artist run on Marvel's Uncanny X-Men, as well as the incredible Darksiders series. And this isn't the first time they've dabbled in turn-based RPGs either. Nonetheless, Ruin King can be played without any prior knowledge of League of Legends or Arcane, and what awaits you is an RPG experience that is so much fun to tinker and toy around with that it's just too bad that it had to come out when the deadline for nominations were up for the 2021 Backlog Battle Awards. Else, it would have probably been one of my top picks for biggest surprises of the year. Ruin King, a League of Legends story, is out on Nintendo Switch, PS4, Xbox One, and PC. Number 9. Forza Horizon 5. One of the genres I started playing when I was young was racing, and I still remember all the fun I had playing Enduro Racer on the Atari, as well as Rad Racer, made by Square by the way, and Outrun the years after. So, in a way, I've always had a soft spot for the genre. The Forza series in general is quite possibly my favorite racing series of all time. It's the only one that allows players of all kinds of experiences to enjoy racing in a variety of different ways. While ultimately a sim racer, Forza allows you to tune your experience based on how involved, or not, you want to be with racing. You want the game to auto-brake for you? No problem. You want to rewind a race so you can redo that tight turn? No biggie. Feeling up to removing these training wheels to try your skills yourself? No sweat. And Horizon allows you to do all of that in a fully explorable environment, complete with multiple biomes and seasons that will change how you deal with the game's many winding roads and dirt paths. It's also nominated at the Backlog Battle Awards for Best Sound Design for good reason, as you'll often hear the roaring engines of cars trying to pass you, letting you instinctively react to them as your race progresses. Forza Horizon 5 is the perfect game for any type of racer to just enjoy driving and living out your car fantasy and dreams, and it's one of the must-play games of 2021 for me, hands down. Forza Horizon 5 is available on Xbox One, Series X and S, PC, and it's on Game Pass. And finally, number 10, Final Fantasy VII Remake. I never said that this list would only contain games from 2021. I merely said that this list would contain 10 games I played in 2021 that I didn't get to talk about. That being said, longtime fans probably noticed that I didn't cover the release of Final Fantasy VII Remake when it came out. There were a variety of reasons why. Part of it was that I was curious how well the game would stand the test of time by playing it outside of the hype zone, if you will, of everyone playing the game and the media hyping it up. Playing this so many months after has given me a very different perspective of Final Fantasy VII Remake than most, and while I wouldn't go so far as to call it reverential, I was able to experience the game as purely as I wanted it to be. Yes, I experienced hours of nostalgia with it, trying to think back to when I played the original in the 90s, conjuring up questions such as, did this really happen back in that game? which opened up even more questions about its authenticity and its added layer of narrative. Regardless, seeing Cloud & Company rendered in painstakingly high detail, despite lower resolution textures that people have nitpicked endlessly, was such a treat that I immediately went ahead and got the DLC soon after. I'm sure that I don't need to endorse this game, but if you haven't yet, I highly recommend checking out Final Fantasy VII Remake, out now on PS4, PS5, and PC. And that's 10 games that I played in 2021 that I didn't get to talk about until now. Now, I want to hear what you think of these games. Does any one of these strike your fancy? Have I convinced you to try out a genre that you probably never played games in, or revisit one that you used to be a fan of? Post your thoughts in the comments below and let's talk about it. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.